welcome back to another video. Originally I was going to make today's video a trend analysis for 2024, but I decided not to and instead focus on things that I've been saving on Pinterest and just loving over the last couple of years, and to really just focus on the things that I love and have loved for a really long time but haven't really had the chance to make yet. I have learned over time that at the end of the day, when you make things for yourself, it isn't always the cleverest move to make things based on trends, just because you're going to end up really disappointed when you end up not actually wearing the finished piece. Because of that, I've given myself the goal for this year to only make things that I truly love and that are genuinely true to my personal style, just so I can get so much more aware of the things that I make over the next few years. Just looking at things in my wardrobe, things that I like to wear a lot, things that I've been pinning on Pinterest, I feel like I'm able to really notice exactly what I wear a lot and the things that I'm kind of automatically drawn to. But overall, I just want to make more practical items. So generally, looking at some of those things, the main features that sort of stand out to me is anything that's chunky, anything that's fuzzy, and anything that is striped will do the job for me. So that is kind of what I'm generally looking at. That is sort of the overall theme for the entire year. I also think I've been knitting and crocheting and doing this sort of as a full-time hobby for the last 2 years, and those 2 years were really great in terms of learning new skills and trying different trends in order to teach myself new skills. But I feel like now I'm at a point where I want to be more intentional and more specific with the skills that I want to teach myself in relation to things that I enjoy wearing. So without further ado, let's get straight into the 14 things that I want to make in 2024. So first of all, we're going to start off with Colourwork, and this love and obsession has already started sort of towards the end of 2023, but I just love anything that has a pattern, a graphic design, just something really intriguing that kind of gives the piece a bit more personality. I have tried a few things here and there, mainly to do with text, but I really want to do more colour work in terms of graphics and pictures. So what I'm absolutely obsessed with is these landscapes jumpers, which are just the cutest thing ever. They look incredibly intricate and detailed, but with the sort of colour work that I've done previously, I feel like I would be able to do this. The main sort of hurdle I guess I have to overcome with this is to actually get the graphic or landscape. But what I also really like about the colour work is that it can be so incredibly personal. So whether I sort of go back into my camera roll and find a nice landscape photo that I've taken over the years and just turn that into a picture design. Obviously on Stitch Fiddle you can actually just upload a photo and it will sort of make it into a pixel design usually. I then have to tidy up a little bit, but that is really, really helpful. Beyond the whole personal style level, when I'm thinking about projects that I actually enjoy making, colour work is huge for me because I get such a serotonin boost from changing up the colours. I don't get as bored because the satisfaction of working up the rows and seeing sort of the design come to life is just immense. If I was to make a plain jumper like this, I don't think I'd ever finish it. However, if there's a colourful pattern on it, 100% I'm gonna be finishing it because it's just so much fun to actually make the piece. So this is definitely going to be a huge thing for me. Obviously these projects are a lot more time consuming. However, then sort of going back to my last point, because I enjoy making them so much, I actually managed to finish them a lot quicker. Whereas, like I said, if it was a plain jumper, you would think it would take less time, but actually in the grand scheme of things, it probably would take me longer because I'll just be constantly picking up and putting it down for a couple of weeks. So moving on to the next thing, it is patchwork. Now I've been pinning a lot of these types of really colourful patchwork, almost knit swatch type projects, and I'm obsessed with them. This has become more of a thing for me recently because I was thinking about ways to work out projects quicker that are more interesting. So obviously looking at these patchwork type things, what I was thinking about specifically is creating knit swatches on my knitting machine now that I'm able to utilize the punch cards. So I have all these different designs, all these different types of yarn that I can use with them, and I just thought it'd be a really nice project to create a bunch of those knit swatches and to then just sew them together into a jumper or a cardigan or whatever I feel like. This has then also made me realize that I have a full box of knit swatches that I want to either unravel to reuse the yarn or to eventually make something with those knit swatches. So I already have a good amount of things to sort of put into a jumper, but yeah, I just feel like it would be such a fun and almost like a quicker project to work up, but something that is so incredibly unique. I just love that these projects don't have to be perfect, you know, they are patchwork and they're meant to be a bit sort of DIY looking. So the pressure is off. I feel like I can kind of just have a bit of fun in experimenting with the different color schemes and the different graphics I can put together. And yeah, just looking at some of these examples, I feel like this is the perfect project to create on my knitting machine. I haven't really worked on my knitting machine for probably like a couple months now, so one of these types of projects I think would be really good to get me out of that funk a little bit. Moving on to something completely new to me that I have never made before, it is cable knits. Now obviously I've been eyeing this up for a very long time, but I just always thought this isn't for me, never gonna try it, it's too hard, or I'm just not really that interested in it. I actually don't think I own any cable knit jumpers anyways. I posted a video talking about how much I love Colourwork and, you know, the satisfaction of changing out the colours and that it really motivates me, and someone actually left a comment saying that cable knit would be perfect for me because of that, and it completely changed my mindset because it makes so much sense. You know, you're able to create a piece in just one singular colour or maybe a few colours. Obviously you're not limited to just one colour, but you're creating sort of a very good basic item which is very practical, which is exactly what I need and what I want to make more of. However, you have the satisfaction of sort of paying attention to the different stitches and changing it over. You can tell I have no idea what I'm talking about because I've never made a cable knit project. This I'm so excited to try. I actually gifted my boyfriend a cable knit jumper for Christmas and it was 100% wool. It came all the way from Galway. And when I was looking at it, I was just so intrigued by it and I thought I could, you know, I could definitely give this a go as well. And I have since then. Let me show you. I found a knitting pattern in the charity shop for like 50p. It is pretty similar to the jumper that I got my boyfriend, so I will either attempt this or I might make a more simple version for me to wear, but I feel like this is definitely something that's going to keep me busy, that's gonna get those brain cells moving in there, and like I said, an absolute staple to have in your wardrobe. Another thing that's completely new to me that I want to teach myself this year is Raglan Knit. Now, I don't think this is gonna be super difficult for me to learn. Last year I taught myself how to do Raglan crochet and I was completely obsessed with it. Learning that new skill, it came at a really good time and I just really enjoyed it so much. So I feel like I'm really gonna enjoy this process, and I just know that teaching myself how to knit Raglan, it's going to be such an asset to like my bank of skills when I want to freehand a jumper or I don't know, come up with any type of design. It's going to be such a valuable and great skill to have, and to be honest, like the possibilities with this are literally endless. You know, whether you want to make a cardigan or you want to make a stripy design or whatever you want to make, I just think like it will be so cool and so nice. Something that I wasn't like 100% sure whether I wanted to put it on this list and whether that really was such a big like priority for me to learn in the new year was double knitting. The only reason why I ended up putting this down is because of being able to make scarves. So I had recently finished making a stripy scarf and it took me a really long time to finish, and I do absolutely love it, but the thing that really put me off is that it curls in on the sides because I was just knitting it in normal stockinette. And I was looking at some double knit projects and just that effect of having like a double knit scarf is amazing. This has been like a really recent sort of idea and thing that I want to make, so I haven't really looked into it that much. I am quite intrigued to see what other projects I can make with double knits other than just a scarf, just because I'm very wary that I'll get bored of making just a long rectangle. Even the jumpers and like the brioche style stuff that I've seen going around, this is definitely something I want to look into a bit more. It's not on like the top of my priority list for this year, but it would be really nice to learn it. The next thing I want to make is so simple. It is to knit a button up. Now, the reason why I want to make a more practical item is because in the entire time that I've knit and crocheted and all the amounts of things that I've made, I have yet to make a normal crew neck jumper or turtleneck jumper and a button up. I made one cardigan and it's gone. I don't know where it's gone, so it's time to make a new one. You know, if at that point I've learned how to knit raglan, that would come in really handy, or just, you know, like a normal boxy type cardigan. But I think what would be really nice to experiment with is obviously creating like a rounded neckline to make some buttonholes and just for this to be a staple piece that I can wear every single day. The cardigan that I did make, I literally wore it everywhere. I had to stop myself from wearing it too much, but really nice. I love the like color blocks you can do with it as well. You know, these things don't have to be super boring and plain. Even like a stripy one, I think I would get so much wear out of. I don't think I have to stop at just one. I think I could maybe make a couple of these this year. I don't know. Let's aim high, you know, let's be ambitious. Similar to this, I am dying to make a zip up hoodie or jacket. I just think they look so cool. They're not that different to a button up, you know, the difference is that I'm adding a zip instead, but I am really interested to see how that would happen, you know, how you can add a zip to your knit projects. And I feel like it just elevates the button up, which sometimes is meant to look handmade, to something that looks so store-bought and so unique. I am absolutely obsessed with this pink and yellow design and the upwards stripes. I think that would be so cool to make. I'm not the biggest fan of brushed mohair projects. I know they're huge and really popular. It's just not really for me, but this one I really like because it almost looks like the stitches were like felted. So yeah, completely obsessed. And also the polo neck detail, I think is amazing. The last couple knit things I want to make are a bit more general. So starting with bow closures. Now, bows are huge. I don't think they're gonna go anywhere. People are saying that bows are trending for 2024. It's like, where have you been in the last year? I'm completely obsessed with bows, but weirdly, I haven't been utilizing them as much as I'm obsessed with them. So this year, I really want to experiment more with using bows as closures. So I'm not just looking at like knit pieces, but I'm also looking at sort of the Garnier peplum tops, having bows at the front, or even just using simple bows, you know, sort of at the side. I think those types of tops would be amazing in the summer. So I already have some ideas for that. I just think they are so cute, but they are also so functional and they don't take a lot of work, you know? They're so effective without having to really put that much work into it. Like this sort of white top, it really is just a couple panels for the front, one panel for the back, and then it's just tied with some bows, and it makes it so much more unique. So definitely something that I'm going to keep in mind for any sort of general project ideas. I'm thinking about how I want to elevate them. I can always add some bows. Very similar to that, I want to utilize more garter stitch in my projects. So I absolutely love the effect that the garter stitch makes. Ever since I taught myself how to knit, I have been very loyal to the good old stockinette and the 1x1 ribbing. Other than that, I haven't really ventured out and experimented with any other stitches, but the garter stitch I think is so nice in adding texture to a piece. Last year I made some mittens, and for those I also integrated a garter stitch, and I was completely obsessed with it. It's such an easy and simple way to really elevate a project, so 100% something I want to integrate more. I am also obsessed with the look that the garter stitch creates when you are changing the color on the wrong side. So the color change from the stitch showing through on the right side of the project. I don't know if I'm explaining that properly, but it just gives so much more intrigue, texture and color like detail to a project. These jumpers I've been absolutely obsessed with for the longest time on my Pinterest, and I will 100% be making one of them. It's gonna have to happen. It has to happen because I know I'm gonna wear the shit out of it. Now we're actually gonna move on to crochet. I don't have as much planned in terms of crochet for the new year, just because I don't find crochet as versatile. However, there are a few things that I want to do to elevate my crochet game a little bit and not get bored and stuck and just repeat what I've done in the last year. So the first thing I actually want to teach myself, that I have never really been that keen on it, but I just thought, why not? Like, why not teach yourself how to do this? And it is Tunisian crochet. The reason why I'm not that bothered about it is because I can knit. So the point, I guess, of Tunisian crochet sometimes is to make it look like knit, which to me, I would just knit it. But not everything has to have a purpose, you know? I think it would just be fun. It would just be fun to learn something new and to figure out how to make this. As I was sort of looking at some different Tunisian crochet projects and things I could be making, I was really intrigued with the different types of designs and patterns you can create just utilizing that one stitch. So I do definitely think it will actually come in quite handy. Just looking at these like patches and stuff, like this would be perfect to create a patchwork cardigan out of, and I love that it isn't so obviously crochet. I think you can tell it's not knit either, but it's just this like weird middle ground, which is really intriguing. I also didn't realize you can make these amazing almost embroidery type squares. Like, I love these. I will be talking about this in the next category, but I think this would look absolutely amazing as like a tapestry project if you were to make a really big one, or kind of like in this image you were to create like a patchwork design. So 100% something that's on my list to try out. I would prefer to utilize this in a way that is for crochet and not to make it look like knit, because like I said, that is a little bit pointless to me. Like I mentioned, tapestries is a big one for me this year. I really got into it again sort of towards the end of 2023. I made a couple tapestries for a friend of ours and I love making them so much, and I really want to elevate my tapestry game and create a big piece that I can hang up in our home, maybe even frame it. I think that would look absolutely incredible. Very similar to the knit colourwork that I was talking about earlier. It's something that I have experimented with before, but at a very small scale, and I feel like I'm ready now to just elevate it and take it to the next step and just go above and beyond. So I was looking at a few different like designs, anything sort of colourful. These types of flowery designs would look amazing in my living room. I think colour wise it would fit in really well. I'm not big on fish, but these like animal things of multiple items in one tapestry I think is amazing. I also love these like tiger tapestries that are really cool, and it actually reminded me that I have a whip sat somewhere downstairs in the office where I started one of these tapestries. I created my own design kind of based on this like rug, I think. I can't remember where they sell these rugs, but there was a time where I was completely obsessed with them. So based on those rugs, I created my own graphic and I put it into Stitch Fiddle and I started making this tapestry. But I got bored of it, as I do so very often. So this year I'm definitely going to pick that up again, finish it, and maybe even make another one. I just sometimes think like I'm not utilizing my skills properly. I'm making so many things, I'm crocheting and knitting and I'm selling them, I'm giving them away, and I'm constantly thinking like, oh, I wish I had a bit more artwork, I need more prints in my home. But I could literally make a tapestry. You know, it's not going to be easy, it's going to take a lot of time, but how unique would that be to have hanging in my home? I just think, yeah, it needs to happen 100%. Now the next thing I put down is granny squares, and look, if you have watched a few of my videos, you'll know I'm completely obsessed with granny squares and I won't stop talking about them. In fact, I'm actually planning on making a granny square specific project video for you soon, so that is coming up. However, what I want to achieve this year with my granny squares is to try different variations and more projects. It is incredibly overwhelming how many types of granny squares are out there. It's almost too much, and I think it stopped me from sort of going away from the classic like square that you can learn. But this is the year I'm going to venture out. Like, the amount of incredible squares you can make is just amazing. You can make almost like a lacy type design, which is so chic and timeless. All the different flower designs you can make, incredible. But even just the square itself, like, I just love a good granny square, but the different variations you can make, and then you can just make like a jumper from it, but because you're using a different square to the average square, it's gonna look so different and so like elevated. I also love looking at like oven mitts, or what are they called, the I forgot what they're called, but just these designs are so stunning. Yeah, so many incredible options, and I just, whenever people say they don't like granny squares, I'm shocked because they are so versatile. Like, you don't have to just do the normal granny square in boring colors. Like, the color schemes that you can go with are literally infinite. I mean, this is 100% a thing that I was going to make either way in 2024. It's something I really enjoy making. I've always enjoyed making. I never get tired of it. But this year it's just about elevating it and just being a bit more experimental and open to new designs. The next thing I want to experiment with, and this is kind of across knitting and crocheting, is lace. I have been pinning things like this here and there and kind of been saving it for upcoming projects, but I've never been doing anything with it. So unless I write it down and I make the plan and I set some time aside for me to actually do it, it's not going to happen. So 100% I'm going to make this happen in 2024. I'm going to experiment with lace type patterns for crochet crocheting as well as knitting. I think for crocheting it will be a little bit easier. I've kind of experimented a little bit with sort of similar things before, but it's the same as with granny squares. The amount of patterns and variations for these lace type things is incredible. Like, to integrate flowers into something, like just think of a dress made out of this flowery lace design for like the summer, or to just utilize these types of patterns within a more general pattern. So to have like a stripe of lace within like a normal jumper or cardigan, I think would just look absolutely incredible. The reason why this is also huge for me is because I have been so safe with my stitches for such a long time. I know I was talking about wanting to make more practical items for sort of everyday wear, which this probably doesn't really fit in that much, but if I do feel like I want to stray from the practical things, which I will because I love making sort of a bit more abstract things, then this is what I want to reach for. They're not practical in any way because they're going to be see-through, so I think that is where I can get more creative and thinking of projects and clothing items and things that I can make with those patterns that are practical. You know, even if it's just like a throw-on jumper with like a lace design, I think it would be absolutely incredible. I do again have a project sat in my whips of a like creamy lacy type beach crochet dress, so that's on my list to finish, of course, this year as well, ready in time for summer. So I think at sort of around that same time, just before summer starts, I'm going to pick this up and see if I can make a couple jumpers or even another dress or maybe some trousers. That would be amazing. Yeah, ready for summer 2024. Now the last thing also is very general across knitting and crocheting. It is the blanket stitch. Now this is something I know how to do. It's very simple, but I think I'm not utilizing it enough because I am genuinely so obsessed with it. It just elevates a very basic and practical item by just adding a bit of intrigue, some color, just by stitching around like your arm cuffs or your neckline or the bottom of your project. I think it's so effective and so nice, and it looks so chic. This is just like a very general thing I want to keep in mind, kind of similar to like the garter stitch. When I'm starting a project or thinking about a project and thinking maybe, you know, how can I elevate this but it can still be true to my personal style, then this is what I'm gonna try and remember to draw from and to just add, yeah, blanket stitches around my projects, even to maybe upcycle some clothing pieces that, you know, I haven't worn in a while. I think this is such an effective little stitch to utilize. So yeah, that is everything I wanted to mention. These are all my plans for 2024, and actually I was able to utilize this list to basically plan out the first half of my year. I have always been very sporadic with my projects. I kind of been doing whatever I felt like as and when, but like I said, this year feels very different for me and I want to be more intentional. So yeah, I'm gonna make these things happen 100%. I'm not just gonna be pinning stuff anymore and waiting for the time to be right, because the time will never be right and nothing's gonna get done unless I just do it, really. So yeah, I think I might be revisiting this list for this summer and kind of reflect on the first half of 2024 and think, what have I enjoyed doing? What did I maybe not enjoy as much as I thought I would have? And what would I definitely want to do again in the sort of second half of 2024? And maybe also include some new things that have popped up that I want to sort of rank up at my priority list. Obviously being wary of any trends that might scoot my judgment a little bit. I'm really excited to get started on these projects, not just for the next one, but to know that after I've done that project, there's another new thing that I can try. Please leave a comment below and tell me, what are your plans for 2024? What's a new skill that you want to learn? I'm really intrigued because I feel like there's so much more out there that I haven't even thought of. So yeah, let's share some inspo, and I hope you enjoyed this video. And yeah, I'll see you next time. Bye.